So I'm going to talk a little bit about shortcuts. And again, my Twitter symbol is @Tim_Ash, and there's the hashtags. But before I start, again, I'm just going to give you a quick background on SiteTuners. You can think of us as the McKinsey of conversion rate optimization. We're a strategic agency that can do everything from helping redesign a blueprint for a high-converting website to coming up with ideas for what to test. We're kind of tool agnostic. And CMS agnostic, content management system agnostic. And also what we're finding a lot of ask for at mid-size and larger companies are building out conversion optimization teams. And what we do is we help take you through the training and strategic mentoring process to help you ride the learning curve. So here's some of our clients, blah, blah, blah. If you're interested in us, stop by our booth. And I'll be doing signings of my book there during both lunches. Did you guys get the books in your registration materials? Okay, if you want them signed, I'll be signing in the booth both lunches and also during the networking happy hour tonight. Right. I'm going to tell you a story. And it's in 5 parts. But they're short and relatively well contained. So I'm going to start with story number part 1, which is the tale of the 3 brains. How many of you knew that you had 3 brains? Okay, 2, 3. About 7 people know that you have 3 brains. Okay, this is time for me to clue in the rest of you. You have 3 brains. Here they are. Meet your brains. You have, on the left, contestant number 1 is your neocortex. This is what we think of as our brain because we think about our brain. The neocortex is what does all the thinking. And then we have the limbic system. This is our midbrain. And then we have the brain stem. And you can see how relatively important and big they are now. It's the same picture, I know, but that's kind of the approximate size of them relative to each other. Or as near as I can get it into a PowerPoint presentation. This is a little more kind of realistic version of the same thing, which is, if you chop an actual brain apart. So there's the big white matter on top. There's this cluster of stuff in the middle, and then there's the stuff at the bottom near your brain stem, going into your spinal cord. Okay? And let me tell you a little bit about these 3 brains. The neocortex is all about reason. Who likes to think they're a logical person? Okay, how many are the rest of you irrational? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, a few logical people in the room. So, have you ever been called Mr. Spock? On Star Trek, the character who's very, very logical, doesn't operate from emotion at all, except when he gets really enraged, and then all bets are off, actually. But reasoning is what we think of as a uniquely human thing. We can problem solve. We can delay gratification. We can make very nuanced decisions based on subtle information and deep analysis, right? This is what helps us build pyramids and put people on the moon and to do, to cure cancer. Right? Reasoning is really good stuff. And most of our brain is devoted to it. And over the last 150,000 years, the size of the neocortex has tripled in human beings. Even our close cousins, the chimpanzees, the gorillas, they don't have anywhere near the neocortex. Most people think it's because we started cooking with fire and being able to pre-digest some of our protein and meat and things like that and get even more energy out of it, and all of a sudden we were able to afford a bigger brain. But anyway, so that's the neocortex, okay? Brain number 1. How many more brains do we have? Who's awake? 3 people are awake, okay. Let's bring the house lights up. Right? When you get a chance, if you could bring the house lights up, that'd be great. So I think everyone can see the screen, right? The second brain is your limbic system. The limbic system is your emotional and memory center. Okay. Has anybody here ever tried foie gras? Loved it? Hated it? Who loved it? Who hated it? Got people on both sides. Anybody in between? Okay, one person. That's not really like it. Usually we have these reactions to stuff. We like things or we hate them. We find them pleasurable or we find them distasteful. And memories are formed around those emotional reactions we have. They've shown that memories are most strongly formed when you have kind of a multi-sensory experience, when there's touch and sound and smell involved, and vision, of course. talk about that in much more detail. And so all of those things come together, also with the strong emotional saliency, and that kind of encodes your reaction to the event. That informs how you react to it, and that's why kind of consciously controlling our intent is a big part of many meditation traditions, because the reaction is you assign to it determines how it's remembered and encoded. Okay? It's very important to have strong emotional reactions. So if I were to go, ah! Okay, a lot of you found that annoying, but you're going to remember that, I promise you. Okay, right after your hearing comes back partially. Okay. You see what I'm talking about? We have a sensory impression and a strong emotional reaction to it. That's what the midbrain works on. That's what it cares about. It's all about feelings. Okay. And then there's the brainstem. It does one thing. It reacts. That's all it does. You know what the brainstem cares about? We're going to go into that in part 2 in more detail. Survival. Because all of the other feeling stuff and thinking stuff doesn't matter if you're dead or you don't get to reproduce. It doesn't matter. The brainstem doesn't care. It's there to keep you on track, keep you alive. But what does the brainstem do? This is in all creatures, pretty much, all animals. So again, the neocortex is hugely developed in people. That limbic system and emotional reactions, even I was chasing this hellhound, half-wolf thing that one of my ex-girlfriends had, and I finally caught up to it, put it in the car, and then I slammed the door right on its tail. That dog, the wolf, was not happy. And he let me know, okay. Even animals have the emotional response, but all, even non-mammals have this primitive brainstem response. How many of you think about breathing while you sleep? No, don't laugh. I mean, there are advanced, Buddhist monks that actually do that. They're conscious through their whole sleeping strength. But no advanced practitioners of Buddhism here? Okay. Do you think about walking too much? Do you think about your heart beating? These are things that are automatic, right? So, but the brainstem only cares about those basic survival level things, and we'll go into that in more detail. So you're going to hear about this from Susan Weinschenk, who's presenting here, and also probably a bit from Amy, Africa tomorrow, but 95% of your decisions are made pre-consciously. They're made before things even hit your conscious awareness. They're made by this bandit called the brainstem. So you see that iceberg? 95% of what's going on. And they've actually done studies on this. You will make a decision, and they see it on brain scans in real time, and then you can consciously become aware of it a second or two later. So what does the conscious mind do? What's its role in all of this? Is there one in decision making? Here's the real sales funnel, folks. You've seen this, right? They're wider on top, here on the bottom. So remember how I had this other picture for you where you had the relative size of these guys? The neocortex is big, limbic system's medium, and the brainstem small. That's actually kind of backwards. For our purposes, what we care about is the brainstem is the gatekeeper. Most of the decisions are made there. A few are encoded with emotions and added through the midbrain. But if you want anything to percolate up, or down in this case, to your neocortex for analysis and for conscious thought and reasoning, that's only a tiny percent of stuff getting here. Some of you are bored right now, some of you are asleep, some of you are excited, some of you are a little curious. These are all kind of range of emotions, but you're sitting there in some emotional state. What do you consciously think about? It's not like there's an Excel spreadsheet in front of you and you have to figure out how to make some formula work, right? That's what the neocortex would be doing, cold analytical stuff. So this is the real sales funnel. So start thinking about it in these terms. The takeaway number one, end of story number one, is understand that the reptilian brain is in charge. It's like the bouncer at a club. It decides who gets in and who doesn't. And it's a pretty tough bouncer. And you'll see why when I talk about story number two. The neocortex reasons, limbic system feels and remembers, and the brainstem reacts. Okay, how many people in the room know you have 3 brains? All right, we're making progress.